Hello, Canucks fans, and welcome back to another episode of the Canucks Conversation, delivered to you by the great folks at DoorDash.
Ding dong.
Use promo code CONVODD, capital C, capital D's, all one word, CONVODD. That will get 25% off and free delivery on your first order with the DoorDash app. Does not get much better than that, folks. My name is David Quadrelli. I'm joined, as always, by the man who built the place, Chris Faber. Our technical producer is Alex Allard. High above Rogers Arena, and for our live show listeners, a different view this time. As you may have heard yesterday, folks, I'm not going to try to rehash this too much because I'm going to throw off Faber right away.
Don't
off
start
the hop.
with me today.
I'm not going to get into it too much, but a camera broke yesterday. Chris is very rattled about it. He's blaming everybody except himself for the camera falling.
It's me and the network now. Me and my company that I work for. We're in a
You were
tussle.
calling me out before. You were saying I'm pissed at everybody at Nation Network, everybody in senior management.
Yep.
You said you're pissed at me apparently for you. I'm the witness. You're gonna complain to senior management, and I'll go back and say no, he installed it poorly.
I don't know about that. We'll have a talk. We'll have me and the big bosses are gonna have a sit.
Yeah,
down
you're trying
here.
to go over me on that one.
Yep, as I typically do with the company stuff. Yeah, over your head. Hey, I got something for you.
Sure.
I still put the episode numbers on the podcast when we release it for the podcast, folks. Episode 333 for this one here today. 333 times.
That's gonna be lucky or something.
Mm-hmm. I don't know. I feel like it's a cool number. We haven't done a cool number, so I thought I'd mention it anyways. 333, little fun.
When was the last time we did a cool number? I guess 300.
300 would have been a good one to do. Something about maybe have like a Michigan State Spartan on the show, which is my university, by the way. Ever told you that? My team that I root for in university sports.
Oh no, I didn't know.
Michigan State, my boys. I don't know what it was when I was a teenager. I was drawn to them as a team.
In my Madden, my career, I did Oregon.
Oregon. That's
Ducks.
A good one too.
Yeah.
Have you ever seen a campus or seen sports live in NCAA? Like anything?
No, never.
We went down to Washington State, the Cougars. We went down and watched the Washington State Cougars play when I was playing baseball back in the day, and we actually got to try out. They had one of the first. It was like a big screen, then a hole appeared from it. I've told you about this, and there was it was a pitcher in motion on a screen. Throws the pitch and you would like hit it from the screen. And at the time, this is like 2009. This was crazy. It was so wild to be able to the technology that it was working together that we were able to do there. And people on my monster update here on the old YouTube, nothing today. Going with the Sussex mug, the gateway to the Fundy experience, which is the Bay of Fundy, where I proposed to my fiance.
That's sweet.
Yeah, at Fundy National Park.
I like that story. I would ask you to tell it again, but I don't think we should do that.
Well,
we don't really have time.
No.
It's a good story, though.
Yeah, Canada Day, there was fireworks in the background.
Were you? Yeah, so hang on. Were you at all worried that you would have a bad proposal story? Like, is that something you were thinking of?
No, because there was fireworks going off.
Well, that's what I mean. Sorry, like you wanted to make the plan foolproof so that you wouldn't have like a...
The hardest part was, I told you, and you knew I was worried about this going into, was getting the ring through everything without her noticing that the ring was there. Because we had to fly across Canada, right?
Yeah, that would have been a bad proposal story.
But I guess the downside was we didn't get good pictures of it because it was like nighttime.
Oh yeah, and you couldn't see the ring.
Nobody aside from her best friend knew that was happening then. So didn't get like a good picture out of it, which is unfortunate.
Well, life hack. Can't see the ring? You just propose in the dark.
Yeah.
It's like those Henderson Silver Knights helmets.
Well, that's what we were sitting out there, and then the fireworks were still going on forever. And I'm like, well, like, can we just bail on these fireworks? Like, it's just like, it's Bay of Fundy fireworks. It's not like it's a huge deal.
Yeah, you miscalculated how long the fireworks were.
Yeah, so they went on forever. She didn't even get a chance to see the ring up to that point. So went from there. But I've been noticing my fiance, she shows me pictures of really ugly wedding rings a lot lately. So I feel like I did a good job because these ones that are ugly, in her eyes anyways, are nothing like the one I got her. So happy about that.
When you picked the ring, and we're going to get off this soon. Well, when you picked the ring,
Don Taylor coming up.
Yeah, Don Taylor, we'll get to that in a sec. When you picked the ring, how did you kind of decide like which one? Did she like give you a bunch of tips or what?
Well, I asked her best friend, and then we just
that's the move
behind her back, talking to her the whole time, and then we set things up that way. So
nice. That's the move. Yeah, I remember when you were getting that, and you were telling me just in case your fiance and I chatted at any point, and she's like, "Where's Chris?" I'm like, "Oh, I think he's buying a ring."
Oh my gosh, yeah.
No, we were good.
She's getting mad at me for being out all the time. I was buying you a damn ring.
Yeah.
So, she's listening right now, probably too.
Yeah.
I'm gonna hear about it.
Okay.
Last thing before we get into it,
sure.
Is your Twitter still up and running? Your blue check mark still looks good?
Yeah. Everybody.
You're gonna get charged $8
I saw everybody.
$8 next month.
No, I canceled that. Yeah, it's another story. everybody kind of did their, their final monologue on Twitter last night. People were like, thanks for the ride. I'm like, what do you guys think's going to happen?
Yeah, you got your inside info. The blue check marks, you guys all
the
got
blue
a
check
message,
marks,
right?
we get the newsletter.
Yeah, you guys got a newsletter. It's not going anywhere.
No, I did tell people to follow my Instagram, though, including Mr. Rick Dhaliwal. And Dhaliwal said not a chance. And then Harmon and I just started trolling them together, which was, the young guys, those young guys like Squadrelli, as Dhaliwal would say. Harmon and I just had a little fun with Rick last night. Speaking of Rick, his co-host, Mr. Don Taylor, will join us today. I'd say around the 25-minute mark for the podcast listeners, around 1:25 for the live show listeners, a little bit later today. Don Taylor, all of our guests are brought to you by the great folks at Zephyr Epic.
Good folks over there at Zephyr Epic.
You can use promo code Hockey Season, capital H, capital S, all one word, Hockey Season. That will give you $5 off your order at zephyrepic.com, ZEPHYR Epic. Check them out on all platforms. They've got you covered for all of your trading card needs. The Pokemans, the hockey cards, the football cards. I've been big in the Madden Ultimate Team right now.
Yeah.
I wouldn't mind picking up some football cards. Zephyr Epic is where you should do it. The best part about Zephyr Epic is they ship free anywhere in Canada on any order over $50, Canada-wide. From
Burnaby to to Brooks, Alberta.
You just come up with that?
Yeah, Burnaby to Brooks.
Did you just think of those?
Yep.
Good for you.
Well, we got Donnie coming up here, so the king of Burnaby. Might as well mention
North Burnaby.
Well, whatever.
As he would specify, and I would specify.
And the Brooks Bandits, they are just an absolute wagon in the AJHL, right? Brooks Bandits, that's a squad. What I think earlier this year, they won a game something like, and someone can correct me if I'm wrong, look this up. It was like 24-0 or something. And the coach got interviewed after, and it's like, he's like, I don't know. I'm thinking about looking at like a different profession. It's like, what do you do when you lose I think it was 21. I think it was 21-0 in the AJHL. Someone can fact check me on that in the chat here. And by the way, nice to see the people in the chat. Brian, Aiden, welcome, folks.
Yeah. Check out Zephyr Epic.
Chat. There's a lot of people not a lot of people in the chat, but a lot of people watching the video. I'm curious. The chat's a little quiet. Fridays normally get people going.
Don't summon them. Don't summon the Codys
now. Here we
the
go.
chat.
Oh, Cody, I don't want him in here anymore. He's banned.
Oh, Nop is asking what the difference between North and South Burnaby is. You know what? That's going to be our opening question for
What's
Donnie
this? I see Cody in here talking about pictures that he's posting or something to click his website.
Okay.
Looking for love or something.
Okay, so you come up with the things at the ticker at the bottom there, and you've written Bright Lights Van City
beautiful.
As the first. Can you please expand on that?
First of all, it's a beautiful day here. And by the way, today I've calmed down quite a bit. I've noticed that throughout the week, I've been yelling a little bit too much. So today I'm not going to be yelling or anything today. I'm going to keep things nice and calm and look at the beautiful, you can see it on YouTube, beautiful view today. So this is nice and relaxing today. I'm not going to be yelling at all.
What's with the today. ASMR?
Well, I don't want to be, that's what I'm saying. I don't want to be yelling today.
You don't have to yell, but
just let my voice do the work.
Speaking voice.
You're going to get me freaking going here. I said bright lights. No, I'm not going to. I said bright lights in Van City because tonight is the only NHL game on the night. In the whole wide league, you got teams from all across the continent, and only 2 of them are playing tonight. The only NHL game on the docket. Vancouver Canucks hosting the LA Kings tonight. Looks like we're going to see Thatcher Demko. He was first off the ice. So Thatcher Demko is going to be back in net, and he's kind of what I wanted to discuss here a little bit. Feels like it needs to be one of these nights where he really shows up, man. Tonight is one of those nights where I think you need Thatcher Demko to look like, if you want to start to get things not even back on track, but just start to have a better feeling around the organization. I think that I wonder how much he's thinking about it, right? Like, I think that's something that we've heard, from me talking to Woodley here at practice and everything. Like, I think that he's thinking maybe too much about the game right now. And listen, he's in a tough spot to be put into with this team and how many scoring chances he has to face every single night. So there's probably a lot of dark thoughts going through a goaltender's mind when they have to play in front of this Canucks team or behind this Canucks team. But I think tonight's one of those nights where, listen, the whole league's going to be watching, right? If you're watching, if you're looking for a hockey game tonight, this is the only one, right? If you're out east, the game starts at 10. None of them are staying up for it. But at least like a lot of hockey fans in the Midwest and the West Coast, they're all going to be watching tonight's game if you just want to get a hockey game in. So I think tonight's a night where it'd be really nice to see Thatcher Demko step up here and have one of these games. Like, do you not thought about this? Like in preseason, remember Thatcher Demko had 2 really good games. Like he had the shutout against Arizona, which
7 shots.
Sure, but like he had a shutout then. And then the game against Seattle, he was really good too for I think like the first 50 minutes of it. But then the season started and things have not gone his way. Feels like tonight's a night. I don't know, something about this being like the only game, the only like eyes right now for NHL fans to watch. It's the only thing you're going to see on the highlights from the NHL. I'm sure they'll have something about Austin Matthews and what shampoo he's using, but like this is the only highlights you're going to see out of the NHL tonight. So I feel like it's a big lights. That's why I said bright lights in Van City. You are going to see Thatcher Demko have to kind of step into those bright lights tonight. And it's not like he's never done it in the past. He's a guy who can step up in big moments. And I think tonight, I feel like it's a big moment more than it should be, right? It's a Friday night game against the Kings, but I think there should be a little bit of pressure here on Demko to have one of those good nights tonight.
I mean, yeah, you kind of outlined it quite well there. For all the talk that's made of a Saturday night game where, oh, everybody's going to be paying attention, it's a 4 p.m. start or whatever, everybody's paying attention to this one. Like, if you cover hockey, you are paying attention to this game. And Kyle, I'm not going to try that last name. Kyle A. jumped in the chat and said, damn, I feel bad for hockey fans forced to watch the Canucks tonight. You kind of feel that way.
Kyle, big Abbotsford Canucks season ticket holder. He's out at Abbey all the time.
Oh, is that? Okay. Yeah. Anyways, good for Kyle.
You've met Kyle before.
I was just about to ask that, but I didn't want to call him out. So Kyle, thanks for jumping in the chat. But okay. You kind of brought it up there in terms of the national discussion where everybody's going to be watching this game, and the discussions have been rampant this week.
Let me just say that I don't think everyone's watched this game, but it's like what I said. When you go to Sportsnet in the morning or at night or whatever, and you watch Sportsnet tonight, like this is the only hockey. Sure. So that's the way that people are going to see. So it is going to be like the highlights. Are you going to see Thatcher Demko get lit up for 6 goals? You hope not.
Or are you going to hear, it's trouble in paradise for the Canucks or whatever it is that they'll come up with for those highlight shows?
It'll be something.
Yeah. And that's the thing, for all the talk that's been made about changes, Bruce Boudreau's still here. Like, there's no trade that's happened. We've heard that the Canucks are super active trying to make a trade, but there's that saying that when you try so hard to make a trade, you're almost guaranteed to make a bad one. So obviously the Canucks are trying to be cognizant of that, but at some point you do have to pull the trigger. Like, you have to make a change at some point. And it feels like that's what everybody's kind of waiting for. And I don't think anybody really is looking at this and saying, well, Bruce needs to be fired. Like, Bruce is the problem. But I do think that people are looking at it based on everything that's happened with Rutherford coming out and calling him out on multiple occasions already this year. But really the one with the exclamation mark was this past one on Sportsnet 650 that he did. It's kind of got the conversation going like, when's the move going to come? Because you obviously don't like the coach that you have. So what's your plan here? And again, that's why people keep looking for this plan. And I'm not going to repeat it again. I've said it on every show talking about the plan and everything. I'm not going to say it again. But right now, people are paying attention to the Canucks. And look, the LA Kings have won 7 of their last 10 games. Like, they're a good team. They just took down Connor McDavid and the Edmonton Oilers.
Literally.
Led by Alex Edler's right knee, which we talked about yesterday. I'm not going to get into it again.
No, that's all they're doing on Oilers Nation this whole day today.
It's very,
I've seen 6 articles about that
meltdown. Hit. Yeah, it's very funny watching the meltdown. Okay, anyway, what I really wanted to get to here is just that people are going to be paying attention to this game. Yeah. The Canucks need to come out and either they need to have Thatcher Demko steal them a game, or hey, here's an idea. They need to have a commanding effort where they come out and just full throttle the whole time, win the game.
Yep, that's all you need. And I think we'll get to the line changes here because we are going to see some changes to the lineup for the Vancouver Canucks as they're back home. But the stats are on the screen right now. Thatcher Demko, 1-8-2 on the season, right? The Canucks have 5 wins this year. Spencer Martin has 4 of them. So that's what I'm saying. Like, it's obviously been a tough start to the season for Demko, but we are going to see a change in the lineup. So we'll get that up here, Alex. Let's have a look at it. Vasily Podkolzin, Jack Rathbone, and Kyle Burrows, they were out on the ice working late today. So it looks like they're going to be out of the lineup. The changes that we have to the actual lines, it looks like Curtis Lazar is going to slide into the lineup tonight. This is a one from yesterday, Alex. I might have put the wrong one in there. You can pull up my tweet, Alex, with the lines here. But a little bit of a change. It looks like Niels Höglander is going to play on a line with Sheldon Dries and Brock Besser. So that trio is going to come together. That's going to be interesting to watch in the third line. No change to the top 6. You're still going to see that Kuzmenko, Pettersson, Mikheyev line. You're going to see that trio still together, as well as JT Miller playing on the wing with Bo Horvat and Connor Garland. So you're going to see that as a top line. But the bottom line, it looks like Podkolzin's going to be a scratch tonight, which could be like somewhat to do with the eye as well. Like, he's wearing that bubble. I don't think it's the worst idea to give him another night off here and let Lazar come in. But I was a little surprised to see Lazar coming in to play on the wing on that 4th line. I'm going to be very curious how these bottom 6 lines ends up like having the ice time given out to them, right?
Well, I mean,
that Dries and Besser combination the other night did not play a lot. I would not be surprised at all to see that Joshua Ahman Lazar line like play more than Dries, Besser, and Höglander. And to say that at the start of the season, like Dries out of the equation, it's just a little strange to me. But just I wouldn't be surprised to see that trio not play a lot tonight. Like I'm going to be curious to see what happens in the forward group there.
Bruce kind of hinted at it after morning skate, which you attended. He talked about how Curtis Lazar, he's almost ready. So that makes me think that maybe Lazar didn't pass a conditioning thing or whatever. And Bruce kind of looked at him and said, okay, maybe not yet or something like that. Maybe you're not ready to go in and play center.
He said today.
Said he's a game time decision. We talked to Lazar yesterday. He said, I'm ready to play first line minutes and be on the first power play unit. And obviously he was joking, but he said, yeah, I'm good. It's up to the coach. Like that's what Lazar said yesterday. So clearly Lazar thinks he's good. So it's not a matter of Lazar saying, hey, you know what, maybe put me on the wing or maybe I'm not ready to go. He was ready to play the first line minutes.
Yeah.
So again, if this is a decision from Bruce Boudreau, it'll be interesting to kind of hear the thought process that goes behind it. If, he said he's a game time decision. So if Lazar sits, is it a conditioning thing? Because Boudreau said he's almost ready or something like that.
Yeah, he looks ready. Lines. He's excited to play. Even chatting with him about it, he's very excited to get back in the lineup. He's just, Lazar's just a gamer. I think that as the years go by here on this contract, was it 3 years at $1 million for the next three seasons?
Mm-hmm.
That's going to look like a really good contract, I think, moving forward with Lazar. And the role that he's going to play and the money he's making, hell yeah. I'm happy. Like, he's great to deal with in the media. I think he brings a lot of energy every single game. Like, that is one of the better contracts on the Vancouver Canucks moving forward. Yeah. But let's talk about the defense pairings a little bit. He's still the man, Quads. Still the man. Riley Stillman looks like he's going to be lining up with Tyler Myers tonight, as we saw Rathbone and Burroughs putting in some extra work after practice. Kind of, what do they call it? They call it getting rinsed?
Yeah.
Is that offensive?
No.
Okay.
I don't think so.
Well, some of these things, you can't say these words anymore. But yeah, they're out there on the ice later with them, and Pod Colson was out there working with Spencer Martin. So, I'm not expecting to see Rathbone and Burroughs, which is what the hell's going on. Burroughs.
You're not talking about Rathbone.
No, I'm like, Rathbone, cool. I just want to see this kid be able to develop a little bit, whether if it's playing games at the NHL or send him down to the AHL, get him into some work. Kyle Burroughs, I just don't understand. After the game, Bruce Boudreau talks about him being one of their better defensemen, talking about how he shows up every single game and always impresses after every game. And it's I don't the only thing I really think here is Stillman playing because the general manager traded for him, and they want to make him look like he was a half decent player in return when he really just hasn't looked the part. Right? I can't see a reason why, aside from that Stillman's playing over Burroughs, because Burroughs in every facet of the game is better and has been better this season.
It literally makes no sense. And again, this isn't even just us saying this.
The only thing is Stillman's left-handed. That is the only thing, but Burroughs can play the... I gotta calm down.
Which is so irrelevant.
Burroughs can play the left side.
It's so irrelevant. And the thing is we've seen Burroughs get used heavily under Bruce Boudreau. Last game down the stretch, Burroughs was the shutdown D-man. You look at this lineup, Burroughs is one of the 4, if not 5 best defensemen through and through. Someone in the chat jumped in and said, I'd rather see Rathbone Burroughs as a third pairing over Stillman Myers at this point.
I think a lot of people would rather see that. To me, it's Stillman shouldn't be one of these guys in the top 6. And in my eyes, hey, maybe Myers would need a night off. But the fact that they're out on the ice late, yeah, I don't think you're going to see this pairing together. It's tough.
And that's what it comes down to, is the plan, right? And again, we keep talking about him beating this drum, but what is your plan? Is it to win games? Because if you actually want to win games, Kyle Burroughs gives you a better shot at that. So what's the plan, right? I think that's what it comes down to, is just figuring out what that plan is, executing it from the top down to the organization. I want to see the concession workers in the organization knowing what the plan is and knowing, say someone asks them a question. I know I'm going off here, but say you're buying popcorn and you say, hey, I wonder what the thought process is here. I think I should be able to answer that question a little bit. Don't you think?
Why is Stillman playing? You ask the guy as you're on your 6th beer.
That's right.
No,
I'm going off. But
Barrow's got a point too. Lazar should be the third line.
Do you hear Alex?
Right. Oh, hear Alex there.
Yeah, we got Alex.
It's coming through. But I think it's just Lazar, I think, over Dries is an interesting one as well. The fact that he's not going to be playing in that spot right now is a little curious to me. But I understand that Dries is a center. You want him in the lineup. And maybe Lazar is actually a true game time decision. Maybe we'll see some changes, from the lines at practice today to what we actually end up seeing on the ice. That's a possibility too, if it's a legitimate game time decision here for Lazar.
Habero jumped in the chat and said, is Bruce trying to get fired? It's a good question, but the latter question is, like you said,
Mm-hmm.
if it is to appease management to play Stillman, which I don't know if it is. I've seen people throwing it out there in rumors. I can't say that with any sort of you know guarantee that that's what's going on.
Mm-hmm.
But hey, is Bruce trying to get fired, or would he get fired if he didn't play Stillman?
No, I don't know about that. I think no
Yeah,
matter
I
what
know.
the case with 2 days off here as well, like we haven't really touched on that yet, but you take a big L tonight. If you're
And
Bruce
that's the
Boudreau with
thing.
the whole weekend off, right? Like the rumors are already swirling. If you lose tonight, I don't think the rumors can swirl anymore, right? Like I think a move is going to come, especially with the 2 days off
And that's the
on a
thing
weekend.
is,
You roll into next week, kind of reset. Like tonight is a must win if Bruce Boudreau, I think, wants to keep his job. Or maybe tonight the win doesn't even matter,
yeah, well,
right? Like could
exactly.
it be that as
Yeah,
well?
exactly. And you almost feel a little bit bad for Bruce because like
Oh
he
yeah,
was
of
making
course.
jokes about his last media availability on the road. Did you
Yep.
notice that? Where
Yep.
it was like, how good did it feel to get the win? He's like, oh, really good for a couple of reasons.
Mm-hmm.
And with that, we'll bring in Don Taylor of Donnie and Dhali. Don, how are you today? Thank you for joining us.
Good. Everything good? You guys can hear me? Everything
Yes.
working? Good.
Absolutely. Quads was real worried about you connecting on that link here. I said, don't worry about
Well,
it. Quads, don't worry about it.
Dollywall told us you're not very good with technology, so we were excited that you got in.
Yeah, and he is. Like, please give me a break. You know, it's funny. I was contemplating. I often wear a toque, and I was contemplating. Should I wear a toque or not? I might be a little disrespectful if I do. And then Quads, I'm looking at you. You got the toque on, looking good. I feel bad about my fashion choice now. People don't want to see this head. Come on.
Yeah, Quads has been hearing it in the chat about the bangs that he's been rocking. So I've noticed the toque has come out to help him here a little bit. So he's
looks good. Very Canadian. Very Canadian. No problem.
Thank you.
Donnie, let's get started here with the Vancouver Canucks. Where to start, really? There's a lot going on. I think the coach is going to be an interesting spot tonight. Are you looking at Bruce Boudreau's future here just from tonight's game? Are we at that point now?
I hope not, in part because I like the guy and I think he's a very good coach, at least during the regular season. And certainly we harken back to last year, looked like he was pretty good. And I say I hope not because I know the history of this organization. If they make a deal, or probably if they make a move, do they have somebody in mind? Like really? I mean, it's one thing to let somebody go, but you better have a damn good replacement, especially when you're dealing with people. I don't care how old you are. There's been a lot of suffering when you're dealing with people who are really frustrated right now. So I'm going to go off on a bit of a tangent right here. But this particular scenario reminds me of the late 90s when Brian Burke took over, came back to the Canucks for a second time, and was the general manager of the Canucks, and Mike Keenan was head coach. And it was clear nothing was going to work between the two. And Brian made a move. But the person he made a move for was in big time demand, and that was Mark Crawford. If the Canucks hadn't moved on Mark Crawford, somebody else would have. He was a very hot commodity at the time. Team Canada coach, Stanley Cup winning coach with Colorado. Is that guy out there right now? Are people going all out to go to hire Rick Tocchet? Maybe they are. I'm not really sure, but I only think you make a move if you know that the guy you're going to bring in will be gone. That somebody that you want will be gone if you don't make that move. Now, I'm not so sure that guy's out there.
Donnie, what would you suggest for the Canucks at this point? Because we've thrown around the word rebuild. We've thrown around the word, okay, they can make a comeback. They can do all this sort of stuff. But where do the Canucks go from here? Like, if you're in charge, what's your first move?
Well, I've gone on and on, back at the Funny Station and even here before Alvin and Rutherford got to Vancouver. I'm all for a rebuild in large part because as I go old man again, going back to 1970, they've never really committed to a full rebuild the way a lot of teams have, like the Kings have, and that the team that's coming in tonight, they got rid of a lot of people. Not got rid of, but they made the most of assets that were near and dear to the hearts of a lot of LA Kings fans, and they decided to focus on a rebuild. And the Canucks, at least the last two eras, have never done that. And I just would like to see, at my age, something different being done. And that to me is a rebuild. I think this market would accept that in a heartbeat, especially when it looks at a team like the Kings or the Red Wings. But let's focus on the Kings because they're in town tonight. They're 10 points ahead of the Canucks. They made the playoffs last year in the midst of what is supposed to be a rebuild. That's pretty good. And they've got players waiting in the wings to join this organization, to join the big team. That's pretty impressive. And the Canucks have never had a focus like that. And it's I think pretty disappointing for a lot of people that this new group comes in and it just seems the exact same. So I'm all for a rebuild. I'm okay with it. And I think Canuck fans, by and large, having seen what other teams have done, with rebuilds, with great young players. There's great young players in the Canucks organization, but it's just frustrating to not have that here ever.
I'm curious to get your thoughts on moving into a rebuild. We've heard Bo Horvat and the Columbus Blue Jackets kind of in rumors over the past couple of days. Heard Frank Cervelli on our show, Elliot Friedman as well. With that, is that enough to signal a rebuild, or because he's a UFA after this year, is it Bo and then something, and then something, and then, hey, we're actually in a rebuild? Like, because I feel like there might be a way for the Canucks to, take another one of these easy way outs where they just trade Bo Horvat and then try and just quick retool, right? Like, we want to rebuild. We want to see his team build something up with potentially the young players, Pettersson and Hughes. But do you need more than Horvat, or is that just like, does that worry you that might be the only thing they end up doing here?
Well, maybe the only thing they can do because of the JT Miller deal. That has hamstrung, from the outside looking in, seems to have hamstrung them a whole lot, because there was a piece that people thought, okay, you can get a 99-point player, a little bit older, you can get something for him, and it just didn't happen. They decided to re-sign him, for 7 years plus this season. So that makes it a little bit difficult. But I think at this point, if you've got the Bo Horvat chip to play, and if indeed they see what they have on the ice, which isn't that good right now, maybe they do focus on a rebuild. It's just too bad they made that move. Now, having said that, you hear all this stuff lately, this week anyway, about Erik Karlsson moving. Well, if he moves on from San Jose with all that time and money left, that's going to be frustrating for Canucks fans, because they will say, well, what about if San Jose can move Karlsson, and I know they have to eat some of the salary, if they can move Karlsson, can't you move JT Miller? So just get a focus and move on from there.
What's your take on the goaltending situation right now? Like, Thatcher Demko struggled out of the gate. He gets the start tonight, but we've basically seen him and Spencer Martin splitting starts. Like, what do you make of this situation right now?
What does anybody make? I mean, nobody saw this coming. Of all the things to go wrong, the one thing you thought they had right was the goaltending situation. Demko as a top 5, top 6 goaltender in the league, maybe a Vezina candidate, which there were whispers of last year, and then Spencer Martin, a solid backup. But right now, there's that question of, well, do you ride Martin? I know Demko's starting tonight, from my understanding. Do you ride Martin while he's winning, especially if you're Boudreau and you're worried about your job? What do you do? I think what you do is, if Demko is indeed healthy, and from all indications he is, despite the offseason surgery, which we don't know a whole lot about, I guess you just got to try to see if he and Ian Clark can work their way out of this, because that's the only solution I find right now. I can think of right now.
How big of, and we kind of touched on it in the opening here, but we said bright lights, Van City tonight, because it's the only NHL game on the docket. You're going to see Thatcher Demko be there. I mean, like we said, maybe not everyone's going to tune in because everyone on the east side is going to be all asleep by 10 o'clock when the game starts here, but they'll see it in the highlight shows, right? Like, tonight feels like there's actually more pressure than maybe we're thinking of on Demko for tonight's start.
Oh yeah, definitely. And then, playing at home after what happened on the road, just what's happened this whole season. Yeah, there's some pressure there. There's a couple of days between games, which builds up builds up the hype or non-hype for a game. They're wearing their retros tonight. Yeah, there'll be some heat on them. You're an NHL goalie, you should be able to handle that. And look, a lot of times, and you see this at all levels of sports, where sometimes when there's heat on somebody, when you don't expect them to play well, that's when they come up big. So we'll see what happens tonight.
Donnie, are you upset about it as we are? The Kyle Burroughs looks like he's getting out of the lineup tonight in place of Riley Stillman.
Oh,
I don't know if you watched our show today, but we were pretty upset. And I know you watch every day. Maybe you missed today, but yeah, it was. I don't get how he plays over 7 minutes in the third period in Buffalo and is real noticeable as somewhat of a rock out there. Obviously a fan favorite. Now that means nothing to Alvin and Rutherford. I understand that, local kid, but he's a warrior. And I don't think they have enough of those guys out there. He stands up for his teammates. He pisses off the opposition left and right. He's smart and simple with the puck. I'm trying to figure out, other than being undersized, maybe a little bit, or what exactly is he not doing that Riley Stillman has? And people could talk about righty lefty, but there was a practice not that long ago where he did practice on the left side, and everybody said, "Oh, he's played there before." And if you ask him, he'll tell you. I'm sure he wants to be in the lineup tonight. On the left side, right side, whatever the case may be. I'm just trying to figure out what they don't see. And again, other than maybe size, I can't figure it out. And the other thing, guys, I wonder if this is at play here. I get the sense that Bruce Boudreau loves minor leaguers, loves guys that have spent a lot of time in the minor leagues, and maybe Alvin and Rutherford, think to themselves, well, there's a reason the guy's been in the minor leagues for a long time. Boudreau spent a lot of time in the minor leagues, so I think he has a soft spot in his heart for those guys. But in this case, I think it's justified. I'm trying to figure out what exactly Burrows doesn't do. Is he Bobby Orr? No, but he's pretty good. Certainly good enough to be a third pairing NHL defenseman.
I think that's the way we look at it. And we talked about this, I think, on yesterday's show. Burrows feels like the blueprint player of, hey, yeah, maybe they're not a great player, but those are the type of guys you want to watch if your team's in a rebuild, right? Like, you'd like to have a couple forwards that play like Kyle Burrows does if this team does commit to a rebuild. You'd like to see guys like Luke Shen. You like to see guys like even Curtis Lazar, Dakota Joshua, like guys that are going to make things exciting a little bit moving forward here. And I think we talked about it just before you came on here, Donnie, but with Stillman, I don't know. The way I'm looking at it, is he playing because the general manager made a trade for him and now this guy needs to play because he talked about him being a bottom pairing guy? That's the only thing. Like, when throwing it around, that's the only thing we can think why he's in the lineup instead of Burrows.
Well, you mentioned all those players. The other thing about those guys is they don't cost much. So when you're rebuilding and you've got cap considerations, those are the kind of guys you want in the lineup. And I think too, when you're talking about rebuilding, and I understand that the Canucks aren't there yet, but can you imagine like the example, a guy like Burrows or Lazar, where they bounced around and they're hanging in there, they're great personalities, just the example that those guys would set. I mean, yeah, the Stars set a good example, but a lot of times what a JT Miller does or any great player in the NHL, most players can't relate to that, but they can relate to working your ass off and sticking around, having getting a National Hockey League job and doing what it takes to be a good pro. And I think those guys are like that. I'm all for what you just said there.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, hey, another week. We'll see what happens next week. And Donnie, every day we get the double Donnie and Dhali show. We pick it up at 12 because we start going at 1 o'clock. Quads every day. It's on the TV when we get in there. So keep doing what you guys are doing. We love it. Everybody in BC is loving what you guys are doing. So super happy to see you and Dhali having so much success here.
Well, also keep in mind that I'm also partial to your show. Nothing to get too crisp, but Quads is from North Burnaby, the greatest place on earth. There is that, and also you guys know this too, and we try to give you as much credit as possible. We steal a lot of your stuff, just so you know. We use a lot of your information. Too. Yeah, you guys are doing a great job. Really appreciate it.
Yeah, Quads is giving me crap because we do our show. We do a city to a city. I picked Burnaby today, and he's like, "It's got to be North Burnaby." I don't know.
Right. Someone in the chat, before we let you go, Tony, someone in the chat asked if you could specify the difference between North Burnaby and South Burnaby, because I specified it for people, and they said, "What's the difference?" I've got a few things in mind, but I want to hear your take on it.
Well, if we're talking in geography, we're talking north of Highway 1. So there's that. And also, I think I don't want to get myself in trouble with people from South Burnaby, but North Burnaby's got the lake, it's got the mountain, it's beautiful. Confederation Park, all the nice restaurants on Hastings. Come on, I mean, I'm
Can't
sorry.
find trophies.
Compared to
Can't find trophies in
Metrotown,
South Burnaby.
yeah,
Yeah,
it's
exactly.
yeah. I don't want to upset anybody, and obviously, you and we're partial to our hometown. That's the way it goes, and it's North Burnaby. And I used to do the show with Moj. He claimed there was no such thing as North Burnaby and South Burnaby. It was just Burnaby. I grew up there. I beg to differ. So there's that. And you know what? People from South Burnaby, feel free to rip us. That's just fine.
All right. I grew up in South Nanaimo, and I remember those North Nanaimo folk. They sound like you two here, though. All right, Don. Yeah. Appreciate you joining us, man. We'll do it again.
Great time, guys. All the best.
There he is. Don Taylor joining us there from Donnie and Dhali. Love getting Don on the show. Before, I remember we had Don on the podcast before, and I swear it was like 15 minutes of you guys just talking about Burnaby before we even got going, and it might have rolled into the podcast, actually.
We did.
So
yeah, we talked about North Burnaby a lot, and oh, geez, I was laughing there. We talked about doing a Patreon together where it was just him and I just talking about North Burnaby, and we teach you things about North Burnaby. But yeah, as I said, you won't find a trophies in South Burnaby.
We touched on something there. And
no free ads, but Trophies.
I know
sick. You've been to Trophies too.
I've been to Trophies. I like the Italian delis. I like.
Oh, sorry. I know you want to say something. Hold it. Keep it in your head. But we should mention that all of our guests are brought to you by the great folks at Zephyr Epic. Promo code Hockey Season. Capital H, capital S.
Burnaby to Brooks.
Okay. All you.
Brooks to Burnaby. Burnaby to Brooks. Anywhere in Canada. I brought something up there with Donnie that I wanted to dive into here before and I don't think we're going to actually spend much time on the prospect, to be honest. Not a lot going on. I'll touch on the stuff that I talked to you with the Djurgardens general manager. We'll get to that in a minute, but in moving Bo Horvat, does it take more than that to signal a rebuild? I think 100%. Like I think that's the easy one. That's the ball that's teed up for you is trading Bo Horvat to start to signal a rebuild. For me, it's like swinging at the 90-mile-an-hour pitches coming later of, can you move Miller? Can you move Myers? Can you move these other players? But with Horvat, I've seen, Frank said it on our show yesterday. I also saw Elliot Friedman tweeting about it today. Or people were tweeting out quotes of Elliot Friedman anyways. Him talking about the Blue Jackets and Horvat being involved. And I'll tell you what, looking at the Blue Jackets prospect pool, I got pretty damn excited seeing some of the players that could be there in a trade for Bo Horvat, because I think he's going to get you back a pretty decent amount, which I was also surprised that, like, the Blue Jackets are last in the Metro, right? Like, they're the worst team in the Metro, so I'm not sure. Like, I think with them, it's going to have to take a sign and trade for Bo Horvat to go there, right? That's the goal that they're looking for. But, man, can I just ring off some prospects from the Blue Jackets for a second?
Sure.
I don't think you're getting Kent Johnson. He was a 5th overall pick in the 2021 draft. He's in the NHL right now. I don't think you're getting him. But Kirill Marchenko, who played with Vasily Podkolzin on Podkolzin. I know you say Kuzmenko played years and years with him. You didn't watch any of these quads. Kirill Marchenko
I remember him. I remember him from the games that I did watch.
Yeah, so he played with Podkolzin at SKA for, that was that young person, that young player line. It was him and Morozov, which Morozov I just saw the other day, actually. Who's he with? The Silver Knights. He's out with the Silver Knights now. I saw him in the AHL. But Marchenko's in the AHL right now, ripping it up as a 22-year-old. He's got 8 goals and 6 assists, 14 points in 12 games.
He's in Columbus's system too?
Yep, he's with the what are the monsters out
Maybe
there.
Columbus wants Podkolzin. Throw it in there.
But don't even get me
started. Unprotected first? Would you do Podkolzin and Horvat for an unprotected first and one of these prospects that you like? I think so.
Yeah.
Unprotected first, like
the worst team in the Metro right now.
Columbus is still going to lose games even if they get Bo Horvat.
Oh yeah.
If you get an unprotected first and you're keeping your first pick, like that's enough to change your franchise round. All this talk about rebuild, you get arguably 2 top 10 picks.
No, but okay, so I mentioned those 2 players, right? Those are 2 of their forwards. Marchenko's probably the one. I don't think they're moving Ken Johnson, but the defenseman that they have. David Jiricek, who they drafted 6th overall in this most recent draft. Denton Matachuk, who they drafted this 12th overall in this most recent draft. Corson Kuhlman, who is he was like 27th or something in a couple years ago. He's 19 years old, playing in Wisconsin. Right shot defenseman there again. Adam Boqvist, 22-year-old. What was that? Same as the Pettersson draft, I think, with Boqvist?
I believe it was Hughes.
Or was it the Hughes? Yeah, it was Hughes draft, because I really liked Boqvist in that draft. Playing junior hockey out of Sweden, and Liam Foudy as well, 22. So like they have these guys in that range of 22 that I think if that's the way the Canucks want to move forward here, where this isn't a 5-year rebuild, but instead is like a 2-3-year rebuild, and they're looking for this, the Blue Jackets have these 22-year-olds. They have Foudy, they have Boqvist, they have Marchenko, they have 22-year-olds that you like in a 2-3 years to be playing with a Quinn Hughes. So couple of options there. Jordan Dumais as well, who's ripping it up in the QMJHL. I think he was a 3rd-round pick in the most recent draft. I really liked him. Wrote about him a bunch of Canucks Army. The other guy I wrote about, do you remember when I wrote the article about coming into the draft about like the biggest players? They got that. Then there was that. There was that 6'7" Russian
to appease the
playing
Canucks
in junior hockey. Yeah,
commenters.
because everyone wanted a big body. There was that 6'7", 240-pound Russian who was putting the puck between his legs and scoring ridiculous goals. He did the Michigan. This guy's 6'7" monster. He was in the 4th round. They got him as well. Kirill Dolzenkov. Kirill Dolzenkov.
Sounds right to me.
He was a 4th-round pick in the recent draft. I love him too. I think he was a lot of fun to watch as a prospect. Probably not a top prospect, but he was a 4th-round pick. So
what you're saying is there's a trade to be made.
There's a trade to be made. It might not even be like draft. Like they have enough prospects where I don't even know if you need draft picks.
From them. Need draft picks.
No, if you're getting a Matachuk, like, do you remember how much the Canucks love
Matachuk? Sure. Okay.
18, like they have, that's the thing. They have an 18-year-old Matachuk. They have an 18-year-old Jiricek. I think these guys are going to be very hard to get.
A pick. You got to get like a 2024 second and Matachuk if you're trading Horvat.
Sure. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. But think about it like this, Matachuk was 12th overall. Jiricek was 6th overall. The value there in these type of players and adding them to your prospect pool is massive.
Yeah, like they didn't instantly be the Canucks top prospect.
Yeah, just looking at this prospect pool for the Blue Jackets, if you keep hearing these rumors from, I think, 2 of the biggest insiders in hockey in seeing what Friedman's saying, like, I don't know, man. Him and Frank talking about the same team with Horvat, like they're hearing it from the same source likely. And you go and you look at this prospect pool for the Blue Jackets and you're like, yeah, get going. Like get going onto this deal because their prospect pool, I love their prospect pool. And it got even better at this most recent draft. So there's some exciting players there. They have right shot defensemen. They have left shot defensemen. They have forwards. They have centers. I like the rumors that I'm hearing right now. If this is a team that you're going to start to look to move, I'm just very surprised that the Blue Jackets are in on him as the last team in the Metro right now. So
hey, well, it's a chance to get a guy long term, right? If he wants to play there, they just got Johnny Gaudreau long term. You get the chance to play like. Johnny Gaudreau is the best winger that Bo Horvat would have ever played with.
Yeah, and looking at
and Laine on his other side,
Horvat really fits into what that team's doing. But I do think it's got to be a sign and trade, right? I think that's the thing about Columbus is would Bo Horvat look at Columbus even in free agency? I don't know. Maybe something whatever they're selling it in the water there for Gaudreau. Maybe they want to do the same for Horvat, but. Yeah, I think it would be sign and trade situation. If you can get a sign and trade done, I really want to see the Canucks push for some of these top end prospects. And like I said, like I know you said you need a pick and you probably do need a pick at some point, but there's enough prospects to like put something together and make a move. Like I seriously think and I'm not saying this like set in stone, but in my eyes, there's enough prospects here in this system that you could like that bring enough value where you really don't even need a draft pick. Like there's enough of these 18 to 22-year-old players. A couple years ahead of what they were when they were drafted. Anyways.
That's a quicker way to rebuild.
And I think that's the way the Canucks want to go. Like with Pettersson and Hughes, I don't know if they want draft picks as much as looking at a prospect pool like this and see who you can get.
It's a good alternative. I like it. I like your idea.
Right.
Okay.
Quick little thing about the I missed this yesterday.
Sure.
Danila Klimovich was getting some time on the first line on Wednesday night in the AHL. So they got a couple games against the Marlies this weekend. So I just wanted to get to that real quick because I think listen, I wrote about it on Tuesday night, and then it happens on Wednesday. I'm not saying that they read Canucks Army over there in Abbotsford, but I'd be ashamed if they didn't because I'm out there enough.
They do. We got a listener, Joel Jackson. I'm not a big fan of his, but he jumped in the chat and said, North Burnaby's too busy and has lots of bad drivers. Hey, I'll admit to that. The Brentwood area is just a nightmare.
Oh, I don't like driving around.
Oh, it's bad. But the North Burnaby that Donnie and I grew up in, well, I guess we grew up in different versions,
Louise.
but... the version that I grew up in is closer to what Donnie grew up in than what it is right now. Okay. And, I grew up 2 years ago? We talked about me hitting puberty on yesterday's show. So I don't want to get into it too much, but yeah, I'll admit North Burnaby's getting a little bit
softball as well. Liking. Stillman and Burroughs are 1 inch different in same.
Okay.
I can't believe it.
Okay, but hold on a sec. Because we both
we got to get to the bets. I'm sorry.
Okay, well hang on. Because we both stood, I saw that. We've both stood next to these guys. Kyle Burroughs ain't that much taller than me, and Riley Stillman's definitely taller.
Oh,
than
yeah.
me.
I think the stat might be
I think the stat might be a little Connor Garlandy there.
No, but Burroughs isn't tiny.
No, Burroughs isn't undersized. Absolutely not. I'm not even, Donnie made a good point that maybe that's what they're looking at. But
today, I can't get over
Stillman
it.
is bigger than Burrows, and I don't think the difference is one.
I think seeing him in person,
I think it's more.
But I still get blown away. Like Tyler Myers walked by me today. I'm just like, this guy's 7 feet. He's so damn tall.
Imagine how I feel.
Oh, I know. I couldn't even.
Yeah, he's like using the top of his locker that's nobody else even touches.
That's where he keeps
Everybody reaches up really high.
That's
and
where you just toss your gloves up there. But yeah,
exactly. Anyways, okay. Betway.
Yeah, I got a good one today. Well, like I said, it's the only game today. The Vancouver Canucks and LA Kings, and I feel good about this one once again. Pettersson and Fiala both to get a point tonight. You get that at +110 over on Betway. You can get that +110. Pettersson and Fiala, they both need to get a point. Just made like $45 there on that one. LA Kings to win over 6.5 total goals and Fiala to score. That's a little pre-built bet they got over there on Betway. So Kings to win over 6.5 total goals and Fiala to get 2 points in this game at +850. So I like that one too, because Fiala, like, I love watching Fiala play against Vancouver. Listen, if the Canucks were like trying to win games, I probably wouldn't like it as much, but as a loss gets you maybe closer to hopefully getting a chance to get, in the Bedard sweepstakes. I love watching Fiala tonight. I think he plays so good against Vancouver every time he plays. So I think he's a treat to watch.
Absolutely.
What are you doing over there?
I'm getting the article ready because we got to get this out there.
Goodness gracious.
You talk about Nation Network, you talk about Canucks Army. I'm under the gun too, Chris. I'm under the gun. But I like those bets.
Yeah, I got to have a talk here with these Nation Network folks.
At Canucks Army, we've got our Betway Bets of the Day series. Nikhil's running those, and he's doing a great job. And I got to tell you, I did a couple of them over the weekend when Nikhil was away. I don't bet much, personally. I nailed it. I nailed all my bets. Well, most of them. I came out positive.
No, you're big on the pick'ems for football.
I did,
right? I said maybe next Friday we'll see. You might do the Betway bets.
Yeah, I've been in this pick'em league with my girlfriend's family.
You said 8-3 last week or something. You had a good week.
Oh yeah, I'm near the top of that league, and I have been since the start of the year. I had a little hiccup, which I had to hear about because we went to the Western Conference Final, or the Lions versus Stampeders Western semifinal, excuse me, with her parents, and they're both in the league, and I've been giving them the business, so they gave it back to me. It was a good time though. Also, I got to get this in there. Anton's, people brought up Anton's in the chat. It ain't it. Like, we've been to some good Italian places in Burnaby. We've also been to some bad ones. Not naming names.
We've also been to one that was really good and now is bad.
Yeah, we're not naming names.
Seen them all.
We're not naming names. We've seen it all, especially me. I've been around for a while now, eating the Italian food. Anton's ain't it. Anton's isn't my cup of tea. I understand people like it. And
cup of espresso, you would say?
Yeah, it's not my cup of espresso, personally. Okay. But the girlfriend really likes it, which is a problem. We haven't been together. And yeah, it's I don't think she's going back there anytime soon.
Sounds like you guys are about to break up. We haven't been together. It's sad times.
She's never been in like the year,
okay, fair enough. Well, hey,
2+ years.
Friday. Just want to give a shout out to everyone. Have a great weekend. Appreciate everybody in the chat coming by. We always have a lot of fun with everyone in the chat. As per usual, another good day on the chat. If you don't get a chance, if you're just listening to the podcast, swing by one time on YouTube. We're live from 1 to about 1:45, Monday to Friday, and the chat's a lot of fun. It's like a text inbox that you would see back in the day on 1040.
Yeah, we had a first time watcher or live watcher today. No, Unplugged cool. Asked what's wrong with Anton's. You give me a DM on Instagram or Twitter. I'm already getting my apps confused. All right, on that, we'll wrap it up there. For my co-host Chris Faber and our technical producer Alex Allard, my name is David Quadrelli. Our thanks to Don Taylor of Donnie and Dhali for joining us. This has been the Canucks Conversation.
That view blue skies into the weekend.
Thanks for listening to Canucks Conversation, delivered by DoorDash. Hit the subscribe button to never miss an episode.
How about keep it to a thank you, Jim?